Detail Assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles?
What'd
Hello?
you say? Hey.
Yes, how far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
All right, well, let's get you going. Membership number or phone number listed on the account, sir?
I don't know the phone number. It's either. I think it's. Try that.
All right.
I know we have a membership, like guaranteed. I don't have the tag
unless
on
you
here.
have a membership number or anything, it's okay. I'll get you over to the captain. What's the best phone number to reach you at?
Reach me at 2.
All right. And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's
How
on
many?
board.
All right. Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
What?
Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
No, we do not need that.
All right. All right. Do you have your current GPS coordinates?
Let me go look.
If not, I can send you a text message.
North. All right, are you ready?
Yes, sir. I'm available.
North 30 degrees. By 4672.
All right. 4672. All right. And you were breaking up a little bit. Can you just repeat it one more time to make sure I have it correct?
Sorry, look.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, what?
So you're breaking up. If you need assistance, do you have a VHF radio?
No, we do not have the VHF radio.
All right. Well, let's try to get you going because you don't have good cell phone reception. Can you verify your coordinates one more time?
Okay, my coordinates are 30 degrees by 14.684 north, and then west by 88 degrees by 46.79.
Right, it looks like you're on Horn Island, correct? Are you
Yes,
on
we are
Horn
at Horn
Island?
Island. Yes.
All right, is the boat sinking or you have it aground?
We are sinking, yes.
Is it aground is the question?
No, we're not aground. We are in
17
foot of water. We're in 31 foot of water.
All right, have to ask. What do you want to do? Do you want to be towed back?
I want to get this boat unsank and towed back, yes.
All right, where would you like it towed to, sir?
You can tow it to Ocean Springs Harbor, or Fort Bayou Launch.
All right, how many adults and children on board?
No, there's no children.
So, is there anybody on board? How many adults, sir? That was the question. Hello, can you hear me?
Try to jump in and pull the plug while you're going.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yep, I just need you to answer these questions so I can get you over to the captain.
Okay.
How many adults on board?
There's 0 adults on board.
There's nobody on board the boat?
No. Nobody
right.
here is over the age of 21.
Sir, that was not the question. Is there a person? Is there a person, a living individual on the boat?
Hello?
Is there a living person, someone breathing on the boat? Is there anybody on the boat?
Yes, there's lots of people breathing on the boat.
All right, how many people, sir?
Like 7.
All right, thank you. Does everyone have life jackets on or available to them?
Yes, we have life jackets available.
All right, verify what boat's sinking.
A Triton, 22-foot offshore, 22-foot Triton offshore sea flight hull.
All right. All right. Please hold. I'm transferring you to the local captain now.
Okay, thank you.
This is Captain Seth.
Hi, Captain Seth. This is Vicky from International. How you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Good, good. I apologize ahead of time. I really do. You're going to have a fee-for-service come up under...
Okay.
It sounds like a bunch of kids on board on Horn Island. He's letting me know that his father's a member, but he can't give me any information. And he's saying the boat is sinking, and he's on Horn Island. It's just unfortunate. He's just a kid. There's a lot going on. So
Right.
he said there's about a lot of people on board. He says he thinks about 7. I'm guessing they're all under 18.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to be rude. He wants you guys to go out there and unpump the boat and then tow it in.
Do you know what kind of boat it is?
He said a Triton 24-footer, but that's all he can give me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just actually got off the phone with his grandpa, who I'm guessing is the owner of the boat. And he said,
Okay.
I just hung up with him. He said that they don't need any help right now, but if something changes, he'll call me back. So
Right.
I'm guessing that they may have figured it out, because that's what he said. So they're in a panic and their boat won't crank.
Yeah, they're in a panic. He's saying the
So-
bilge is not keeping up. I asked for Coast Guard. He said no, but he's just really upset on the back end. And, I get it. It's a
Okay.
kid. He just doesn't understand.
Oh, okay. Do you still have him on the line?
Yes, I still have him on the line. And, again, I couldn't find he couldn't give me anything regarding his grandfather's, membership, so it's just under fee-for-service.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just talked to. If you wanna, we're so tied up right now. We can't really do any non-member jobs right now.
Is he a member? Did you find out if he was a member or not?
Yeah, but I'm not sure if it's his boat or what. I'm not sure what's going on with it. But yeah, transfer the kid over. I'll talk to him, and then I'll call his grandpa back as well.
All right. And did you want me to look up membership number or anything like that to see if he's up? I know you guys are
You can
swamped.
try this cell phone number.
Yes, sir.
Anything on this phone number?
All right. Yep. Yeah, he's an active member. Hold on.
What kind of boat do you have
He
on
is.
there? Same boat?
Yeah, he's one of your members. Yep, 22-foot Triton. All right. I'll just disregard this one. I'm gonna send you over an accurate one under this one. Okay, he's one of your members. You'll get it in a couple minutes. Okay.
Okay, perfect. All right, and just transfer this kid over whenever you get a chance.
All right, transferring him now. Thank you again, Captain.
All
Stay
righty.
safe out there. It's crazy. Have a drink.
Oh, it's wild. All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hello? Hello? Are you there? I apologize. I will be disconnecting due to lack of response.
That is the full emergency call from the boat Nolan Wells rode to Horn Island on the 4th of July, start to finish, exactly as the state of Mississippi released it. For 3 weeks, the public had heard about 8 seconds of it. One sentence: "We're sinking. Can you all please come?" You just heard the rest, and it is a very different thing to sit through than 8 seconds suggested. The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources has put out the complete recording, along with a stack of documents, 10 files, a drone search grid image, and a United States Coast Guard drift analysis. And the full call captures something the clip never did: a teenager on a boat that is filling with water, struggling to answer a dispatcher's simplest questions, unable to say how many people are aboard, unable to give membership details, panic, in real time on a holiday afternoon 10 miles from shore. It also captures the moment that quietly corroborates the friend's entire account of why they left, and the moment the emergency was called off, by a phone call none of them made. You have now heard the whole thing, which almost nobody arguing about this case actually has. So stay with me, because what that call confirms, what it complicates, and the one question it still cannot answer, are the whole reason it matters. Before we dive into this, like this video, subscribe, and drop the location and the time you are watching from in the comments. It costs you nothing, and it tells us how far Nolan's story is actually reaching. Now, why a released call from a towing company matters at all. To understand why this recording is significant, you have to remember what has been missing from this case since the beginning. Not theories. Those have been in endless supply. What has been missing is primary evidence, things created in the moment, by machines or by professionals, before anyone knew this would become a national story. For 3 weeks, this case ran on memory. The friends remember one thing. A young woman remembers another. A mother remembers a phone call. And memory, as every account in this case has proven, bends. Then the records started arriving. Global positioning data from the state, time-stamping the boat's movements to the minute. Photograph metadata that killed a false claim about a pool party. A preliminary autopsy from a former chief medical examiner. And now this, a recording of the actual emergency as it was happening, in the voices of the people it was happening to. That is why it matters. Not because it solves the case. Because it is real. It is one of the few things in this entire story that nobody is remembering, interpreting, or spinning. It simply happened, and it was recorded. And the timing of its release is worth understanding, because it did not leak. It was put out by a state agency, the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, in response to public records requests, which is a very different thing from the anonymous screenshots and talk show reveals that have driven so much of this case. When a government body releases primary evidence through the records process, it carries a weight that a leaked image never will. It is official, it is complete, and it is the same for everyone who requests it. That is exactly the kind of source this channel has been waiting 3 weeks for, and it is why this recording deserves a careful walkthrough rather than a reaction. And there is a practical reason that kind of evidence matters more than any interview, beyond simply being harder to fake. When this case reaches a grand jury, and the district attorney has committed to presenting it once the sheriff's investigation is complete, that room does not weigh memories the way a comment section does. It weighs the things that can be authenticated: timestamps, recordings, logs, reports. A panicked teenager's voice on a towing company's recorded line is exactly the kind of exhibit that ends up in front of those jurors, precisely because it was captured automatically and cannot be reshaped after the fact. The call was released by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, the state agency that patrols the water and that has been part of this case since the first search. It was obtained and published by WLOX, the local news station on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And one detail matters before we go a word further. This call did not go to 911. It went to CTOW, a private, membership-based towing company, the boating equivalent of roadside assistance. That distinction is going to matter more than it sounds, and we will come back to it. One quick thing before we get into it. Most dangerous people do not look dangerous. They look like good husbands, trusted coworkers, devoted fathers, loyal friends. The faces nobody thinks twice about. By the time anyone realizes something is wrong, they are looking backward at warning signs that suddenly seem obvious. Awareness almost always comes too late. That is exactly why I wrote my book, How to Spot Dangerous People Before They Hurt You. Not to teach fear, but to teach recognition. Inside it, you will learn how criminals actually think, the warning signs they give long before they act, and the behaviors that could save your life or the life of someone you love. And right now it is absolutely free. The link is in the description. Read it before you ever need it, not after. Now back to what you just heard. You just heard the whole thing, so this section is not going to replay it line by line. It is going to tell you what actually matters inside it. Start with what the 8-second clip that circulated for 3 weeks left out. That clip was the single sentence everyone knows. We are sinking. Can you all please come? What the full call adds is the thing the clip erased, the sound of the caller. One of Nolan's friends, unable to answer the dispatcher's simplest questions. You heard him struggle to say how high the water was. It is coming up. I do not know. We are going down, though. That is not a person calmly reporting a mechanical problem. That is a teenager in the middle of it, watching the water rise 10 miles from shore. The clip made it a soundbite. The full call makes it fear. Then there is the exchange every outlet has fixated on. And you heard it yourself. The dispatcher asks how many people are on board, and the answer that comes back is not a number at all, no children, and no one over the age of 21. Taken literally, that means everyone aboard was somewhere between about 18 and 20. It does not tell her whether there are 2 people on that boat or 10. Some have called that moment darkly comic. It is not comedy. It is what a brain does under acute stress. It hears how many people and produces the fact that feels most urgent. Nobody here is a helpless child. Nobody here is the responsible adult, instead of the number she asked for. It is the sound of a young person overwhelmed, and it is consistent with every other second of that recording. 2 lines from the call carry more weight than the rest, and both are easy to miss on a first listen. The first is the dispatcher's safety question. Is everyone on board and in good health? And the caller's answer, yeah, everyone is on board. Hold on to that one. Everyone is on board is a specific claim about a specific moment, and we are going to come back to exactly what it does and does not mean. The second is the coordinates. Buried in the panic, the caller manages the one piece of information that actually helps, the boat's global position, and it places the vessel just off the northwest tip of Horn Island. That location is going to line up precisely with something else in the record, and we will get there too. And there is the phrasing that stays with you. Asked what he wants, the caller says he wants to get the boat, in his word, unsank. It is not a word. It is what an 18-year-old says when his friend's boat is filling with water, and he wants, more than anything, for that to stop being true. Before going further, one honest note about the tone of that recording, because it has been weaponized in both directions. Some viewers have heard the caller's confusion as evidence of guilt, as if a person who stumbles over a dispatcher's questions must be hiding something. Others have heard callousness in the background chatter. Neither reading survives contact with how people actually sound in emergencies. Dispatchers and first responders will tell you that panicked callers routinely cannot answer the simplest questions, give wrong information, laugh at inappropriate moments, and fixate on the wrong detail. It is physiology, not character. A brain flooded with adrenaline is a bad witness to its own situation. So the confusion on this call is not evidence of anything except fear, and reading guilt into the sound of a scared teenager is exactly the kind of leap this case has punished over and over. One pause here for the person this is all actually about. It is easy to get pulled into the mechanics, the pump, the coordinates, the timeline, and forget that every piece of this leads back to an 18-year-old who did not come home. So write his name in the comments plainly with respect. Nolan Wells. Let this comment section be about a person rather than an argument. Now, what the caller says next to someone else on the boat and how the emergency actually ended. While the dispatcher is working, the recording catches the caller turning away from the phone to talk to someone else on the water, the owner of another boat, identified in the Marine Resources reports as a 21-year-old. And what he says to him is the single most corroborating detail in the entire recording. He tells him to jump in and pull the plug while you are going. If you have followed this case, you have heard that instruction explained before, weeks before this audio ever came out. The friends said that once they got the motor to stay down, the boat's owner pulled the drain plug so that the standing water would empty out the back of the hull as the boat got up to speed. Countless people online treated that explanation as a convenient story invented after the fact. And now here it is, on a recording made in the moment, on the 4th of July, captured by a towing company's phone line. A teenager telling another teenager to pull the plug while you are going. The explanation was not invented later. It was happening live, and it was recorded live, before anyone had a story to protect. That is what primary evidence does. It does not care what anyone needs to be true. And this is the real value of playing the whole call rather than describing it. When you hear it yourself, you are not being told what to think about that caller's panic or that pull the plug instruction. You are judging it with your own ears, in real time, the same raw material a grand juror would hear. That is the opposite of how most of this case has been consumed. For 3 weeks, people formed certainty from 8-second clips, screenshots, and someone else's summary. The full recording hands you the primary source and lets you check every interpretation, including this channel's, against what is actually on the tape. And with the call in hand, the afternoon can finally be assembled into a single sequence anchored to records rather than memories. The boat leaves a private dock at 9:56 in the morning by the global positioning log. It reaches Horn Island at 11:14. The group spends hours on a crowded island. The last confirmed sighting of Nolan by his family's legal team is around 3 in the afternoon. Somewhere in the next hour and a half, the boat begins taking on water, the bilge pump fails, and this call is placed to CTOW. The plug is pulled to drain the hull, the grandfather relays that it is handled, and the tow is called off. At 4:31, the log shows the boat leaving the island without Nolan aboard. It stops in Fort Bayou at 5:52 to reseat the plug, returns to the dock at 6:06, and is eventually hauled out of the water and taken home. Every timestamp in that sequence now comes from a machine or a recording. Only one stretch remains dark: the roughly 90 minutes between Nolan's last confirmed sighting and the boat's departure. The call illuminates what was happening on the boat during part of that window. It shows nothing of what was happening to the boy on the island. The brightest, most detailed record this case has produced still has a hole in it, exactly where Nolan Wells is standing. Then comes the part of this recording that genuinely adds something new, because it explains why no professional rescue ever reached that boat. The dispatcher, hearing how young and how panicked the caller is, does the responsible thing. She calls the CTOW captain directly and tells him there are young people on a boat who are panicking. That is a dispatcher escalating a situation because she is worried, but the captain already knows about it, and this is where the chain of that afternoon becomes clear. The captain tells her he is already in contact with the boat operator's grandfather, a man named Jerry Adkerson, and the grandfather has just told him the situation was handled. The people on the boat the grandfather relayed do not actually need assistance, so the rescue was called off, not by the panicked teenager on the phone, by a grandfather on land relaying that it was under control through the tow captain back to the dispatcher. CTOW stood down. No professional ever came. That name, Jerry Adkerson, is worth holding on to, because he is not a stranger to this case. He is the same person who later let authorities examine the boat and check its global positioning coordinates as part of the investigation. In other words, the family of the boat's owner has cooperated with investigators on the physical evidence, which is consistent with what the Marine Resources report already indicated about the owner and his family cooperating. So put the sequence together, because the full call lets you assemble it for the first time. A boat at the northwest tip of Horn Island is taking on water because its bilge pump has failed. A panicked teenager calls a private towing service, not 911, and struggles to give clear information. While he is on the phone, the group is already solving it themselves, pulling the plug to drain the water at speed. A grandfather on shore learns what is happening and reports that it is handled, the tow is canceled, and the boat, no longer sinking, runs for the mainland. The global positioning data obtained separately by CBS News matches this precisely. It shows the boat leaving Horn Island at 4:31 in the afternoon and making its way back, with a brief stop in Fort Bayou. The stop the friends explained as the moment they put the drain plug back in before docking. Every independent piece fits. The failed pump the caller reports, the plug instruction the recording captures, the departure time the tracker logs, the Fort Bayou stop, the cooperation of the boat owner's family. For the mechanical story of why that boat left the island, the documentary record is now close to airtight, which forces the hard turn this case always forces. No matter which piece of evidence you start from, none of it tells you what happened to Nolan Wells. Go back to that one line from the call: everyone is on board. When the caller said it, he was answering whether the people on his sinking boat were safe. The people on that boat, at that moment. Nolan Wells, by every account including the friend's own, was not on that boat. He had stayed on the island. So everyone is on board was true of the vessel and its passengers, and it says nothing at all about the 18-year-old standing on the sand behind them. That is the whole case in a single line of audio, and you heard the caller say it with your own ears. The record can now tell you, in granular detail, what happened to the boat. It still cannot tell you what happened to the boy, and no recording of the people who left will ever contain the one voice this case is actually about. It also cannot resolve the contradiction that has sat unmoved at the center of this case since the first week. The question of what Nolan actually intended in the moments before that boat pulled away. And that question has a new face on it. because the young woman at the heart of it has now been publicly identified. For weeks, she was known only by a first name, Katie. Recent reporting identified her as Katie McCormack, described as a 19-year-old student from Pascagoula. Through a member of her family, her account has been consistent. She spent time with Nolan on the island, they parted ways, she left safely with her own group, and she has no knowledge of what happened to him afterward. Her family put the crucial point plainly, that Katie assumed the friends telling Nolan to get on the boat would never actually leave without him. She said goodbye, in other words, believing he had a ride home. Hold that against the friend's account. They say Nolan was called to the boat repeatedly and chose to stay. Her family says she believed he was coming back to it. Those two versions still cannot both be complete, and this distress call, for all it clarifies about the boat, does nothing to settle them. What must be said clearly, because this case has hurt enough people already, is that Katie McCormack has not been named a person of interest by investigators, has not been charged with anything, and by every account has simply told the truth as she experienced it. Naming her does not make her a suspect. It makes her one more young person whose life was rearranged by a tragedy she did not cause. And here is where honesty requires drawing a hard line, because this recording came bundled with other material, and some of that material is already being twisted. The Marine Resources release was not just the call. It included around 10 documents, a drone search grid photograph, and a United States Coast Guard particle drift analysis. Those two images deserve a moment, because they are the least sensational and most revealing things in the entire package. The drone search grid photograph shows how the water around Horn Island was actually searched, the area divided into sections and worked methodically, the way a serious search is run. It is documentary proof of the scale of the effort in those first days, not a couple of boats poking around, but an organized grid across open water, which is consistent with the accounts of dozens of Marine Resources vessels, aircraft, and volunteers that were described from the very first morning. The Coast Guard particle drift analysis is more technical and, in a drowning investigation, genuinely important. When someone goes into open water, agencies can model how the currents, wind, and tide would have carried an object or a body over time. That drift modeling is how searchers decide where to look, and later, how investigators reason backward about where a person likely entered the water given where they were found. Nolan's body was recovered at the northwest tip of Horn Island. The distress call placed the boat just off that same northwest tip. A drift analysis is exactly the tool that connects those two facts, or fails to, and it is the kind of evidence that speaks directly to one of the pathologist's 7 unanswered questions: how did Nolan Wells enter the water? These are the documents that matter to a grand jury and barely register in a comment section, because they are technical, sober, and impossible to sensationalize honestly, which is precisely why they are worth telling you about, and precisely why almost nobody covering this case has. But alongside the real documents, a claim has spread across social media that one of the files contains the words alcohol intake, heavy, and that the caller can be heard saying they were in 31 feet of water. As of this recording, neither of those specific claims has been confirmed by any major news organization that verified the documents. They are circulating from a single social media account. Even the person who posted the alcohol line noted it might simply be a general reference to the group, not a finding about Nolan, and that nobody has said Nolan himself was impaired. So this channel is not going to repeat either claim as fact, and neither should anyone else until a credible outlet confirms what those documents actually say and who they refer to. We have watched this exact pattern play out in this case again and again. A real piece of evidence is released, and within hours an unverified detail attached to it travels 10 times farther than the evidence itself. The pool party photograph, the voice on the fight video, the idea the FBI had taken over. Every one of those was false or distorted, and every one of them outran the truth for days. If those toxicology-related details turn out to be real, they will come out through the official autopsy, which the district attorney has now confirmed will be released only when it is presented to a grand jury. That is the venue where a line like alcohol intake gets context, gets cross-examined, and gets attached to an actual person rather than a rumor, not a screenshot. There is also a fair question buried in this recording that deserves to be asked plainly, without pretending it answers itself in either direction. Why call a private towing company instead of 911 or the Coast Guard? For a boat that is sinking, there are two honest readings, and a careful person holds both. The critical reading is that a genuine sinking emergency with lives at risk is a 911 call, and that reaching for a membership towing service instead suggests the group did not truly believe their lives were in danger, which cuts against the idea that this was a life-threatening crisis serious enough to justify everything that followed. The sympathetic reading is that this is exactly what a lot of young boaters do. Sea tow is the reflex on that coast. It is the boat you call for engine trouble, dead batteries, a boat taking on water. It is roadside assistance for the water. A panicked 19 or 20-year-old whose friend's boat is filling up may reach for the number the family already has a membership with. Not because they are calm and calculating, but because it is the number that means help with a boat. And the group did solve the immediate problem themselves within minutes. Both readings are legitimate. The recording does not settle which is right, and any channel that tells you it does is selling you something. What it establishes is only this: the emergency was real enough to prompt a frantic call, and resolved enough, quickly enough, that it was called off before anyone professional arrived. There is one more thing the full call quietly underscores, and it is the strangest fact in this entire case. The caller told the dispatcher the boat was at the west tip of Horn Island, surrounded, by every account, by a holiday crowd. Aerial photographs released separately show hundreds of boats around that island on the 4th of July. Nolan's friends have estimated thousands of people, with hundreds on their own stretch of beach, and one friend said he knows of a boat that did not leave until 8 that evening. This was not an empty wilderness. It was one of the busiest stretches of water on the Gulf Coast that day. And yet 3 weeks on, with a distress call now public, with global positioning data public, with call logs public, there is still no account from a single one of those hundreds of people describing Nolan Wells after roughly 3 in the afternoon. Not a sighting, not a conversation, not a photograph with his face in it. The closest thing anyone has produced is a video obtained by TMZ, recorded at 23 minutes past 2 in the afternoon, showing a young man on the back deck of a boat in trunks matching the color Nolan was wearing, his face not visible. That is the void at the center of this case, and no amount of released audio fills it. The record can tell you where a boat was to the minute. It cannot produce one person who saw the boy after mid-afternoon. The crowd that should have made him impossible to lose is the same crowd that has so far said nothing. It is why the sheriff's office keeps asking, in writing, for original photographs and videos from that day. And it is why the reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction now stands at $125,000, offered by Reverend Al Sharpton, the actor Tyler Perry, and the former NFL player Terrell Owens. That figure is itself a statement. The people closest to this family do not believe the full account has surfaced. So where does the full call leave this case? It closes the mechanical questions almost entirely. There is now, on a recording made in the moment, confirmation of the failed bilge pump, confirmation of the plug being pulled to drain the boat, and a timeline that matches the global positioning data to the minute. The story the friends told about why they left Horn Island, a boat that was genuinely failing, an emergency that consumed their attention, is now supported by primary evidence, not just their own word. On that narrow question, the doubt is mostly gone, and it leaves the central question exactly where every other piece of evidence has left it: untouched, because here is the shape of this entire case, seen through the full inventory of what now exists. On the question of what the friends did, when they left, why they left, how the boat behaved, who they called and when, the record has steadily, piece by piece, supported their account. The global positioning data, the distress audio, the plug instruction, the call logs showing the first call went to Nolan's mother, the photo metadata. Item after item has checked out. And to understand why even the coming documents may not deliver the clean answer everyone wants, it helps to understand what determining a drowning actually involves, because it is one of the hardest calls in forensic pathology. There is no single test that confirms a drowning. In most deaths, the body carries its own explanation: a wound, a diseased organ, a toxic substance. Drowning frequently leaves none of that. Pathologists look instead for supporting signs: fluid and foam in the airway, the condition and weight of the lungs, water in the stomach, indications a person was actively breathing while submerged. Then, they weigh those signs against the circumstances of how the person entered the water. In a drowning case, the circumstances are not background. They are part of the diagnosis itself. That is exactly why the independent pathologist wrote that confirming how a person entered the water is especially important for someone who could swim, as Nolan could. Now connect that to the drift study in this week's release. A particle drift analysis is one of the few tools that speaks to that precise question, where a body likely entered the water. Given the currents and where it was recovered, it will not name a cause of death. But it is a piece of the circumstantial picture a pathologist needs, and its presence in the state's evidence file tells you the investigation is building exactly the kind of record a defensible determination requires. It also tells you why the answer is taking so long, and why undetermined was the only honest thing the independent examiner could write with the limited material he had. On the question of what happened to Nolan Wells himself, the record supports no one, because it does not exist yet. The only professional document that speaks to it, the independent autopsy, says undetermined, twice, and lists 7 questions it cannot answer. And the one finding that unsettles everyone, an unexplained area of red discoloration at the back of an 18-year-old's head, in a place the state's first examination never even looked, remains exactly what the pathologist called it: inconclusive, flagged for further investigation, neither cleared nor confirmed. Both of those things are true at once. And holding them together is the entire discipline this case demands. A group of teenagers can be telling the truth about a sinking boat, a pulled plug, and a 4:31 departure. And a family can be right that a mark on the back of their son's head demands an answer nobody has given them. Neither of those requires the other to be a lie. What comes next is not another piece of leaked audio. It is the official autopsy, which will be unsealed only for a grand jury. That last point is itself recent, and it changes what everyone is waiting for. The Jackson County District Attorney Angel Myers McElrath confirmed that the state's autopsy will not be released to the public at all until it is presented to a grand jury. Her explanation was pointed. She said she understands the public's urgency to know what happened to Nolan, but that her office is not taking time for time's sake. It is taking the time the investigation requires. And she noted that in her county, nearly every death that is not plainly natural or a simple car accident goes to a grand jury, and that she has handled death investigations this way her entire career. For a public that has been waiting for the state report to drop any day, that reframes everything. There is no document coming that a news station is going to publish next week. The state's findings, the toxicology, the answer to how Nolan entered the water, all of it now travels straight into a sealed grand jury process, where it will be weighed in private before anyone outside sees it. The waiting, in other words, is not almost over. It is structured to last. So the road ahead is clear even if the destination is not. The official autopsy, the toxicology results, the forensic examination of Nolan's phone, which both sides agreed to conduct together and which still has not happened, and whatever that grand jury decides once it has all of it in one room. Around the evidence, meanwhile, a political fight has broken out that is now almost as loud as the case itself, and honesty requires laying out both sides of it. State officials have pushed back hard on the family's national advocates. The governor of Mississippi has accused attorney Ben Crump and Reverend Al Sharpton of fueling division around the case. The state's Department of Public Safety Commissioner confirmed that the FBI is assisting specifically with threats made against potential witnesses, public officials, and the Wells family, threats serious enough to draw federal involvement. And the state attorney general warned against any attempt to intimidate investigators. From the other direction, the president of the NAACP accused Mississippi and local officials of being, in his words, derelict in their duties, a charge leveled at the same press conference where the independent autopsy was released. Hometown officials answered by closing ranks around Sheriff John Ledbetter, with a member of Congress from the area expressing complete confidence in him. This channel is not going to tell you who is right in that fight, because it is a political argument and not a factual one, and because none of it establishes how Nolan Wells died. but it belongs on the record because it is now part of the environment every piece of evidence in this case lands in. A distress call gets released into a war between a governor and a civil rights attorney. That is the world this recording arrived in. It is worth noting, too, that this case is not quieting down as it ages, it is escalating. In the same window this audio was released, the case drew the attention of national true crime broadcasters, with commentators on cable television dissecting the unexplained mark on Nolan's head and the missing neck structures for audiences of millions. A major newspaper ran a lengthy piece placing the case in the long shadow of Mississippi's history, noting that next month marks 71 years since the killing of Emmett Till. Whatever the facts turn out to be, this is now a story the country is watching, which raises the stakes on every document still sealed and every decision the grand jury will make. The pressure that produced a release distress call is the same pressure that will follow this case all the way to its conclusion. Those are the documents that will end this, not a screenshot, not a talk show, not a comment section. A room full of ordinary citizens looking at the complete record, including a recording of a frightened teenager on a sinking boat who told a dispatcher, truthfully, that everyone was on board, while the one person this entire case is about stood on an island behind him, already, somehow, beyond anyone's help. If you subscribed at the start, keep those notifications on, because when the official autopsy is unsealed, when toxicology comes back, when that phone is finally examined, and when the grand jury acts, the verified breakdown will be here the day it is confirmed, and not a minute before. No leaks dressed as facts. No rumors dressed as evidence. Nolan Xavier Wells was 18 years old, a graduate of Ocean Springs High School and a rising sophomore wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College, days away from reporting back for his season. He would have turned 19 in August. On the recording released this week, you can hear his friends fighting to save a boat. You cannot hear him. By then, wherever he was already out of frame, the way he has been out of frame in every piece of evidence this case has produced. A tracker that logged a boat, but not a boy. A photograph of an empty pool from a week before. A call that confirmed everyone aboard was safe and said nothing of the one who was not. The whole case is the search for the part of the record where Nolan Wells finally appears. It has not been found yet. Until it is, everyone owes his parents the same thing, the truth, carefully, and nothing added that is not real. Nolan Wells. Say his name, and stay with this until there is an answer.